Hey, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, then welcome. My name is Maddie, and today I'll be sharing my list of Fruits Basket characters as songs from Taylor Swift's Fearless album. I love doing these videos. I've done them before twice. No, 3 times. Yeah, I've done them with 3 Taylor Swift albums so far. That was Lover and Folklore and Speak Now. And I really enjoyed doing those. Haven't done one in a long time, and I thought this was the perfect one to do because Taylor Swift just re-released her album Fearless. She's doing this cool thing where she is going to be re-releasing her first 6 albums so that she can gain back her rightful ownership of them. And it's a whole really long, complex story of how she lost ownership of her songs from her first 6 albums. Look into that if you would like to, but that is the entire reason that she is doing it, which she deserves to own her songs, so I'm so happy that now finally she really does own Fearless. And to celebrate that, and also because I love these songs so much, I'm going to share which characters or relationships I relate to each track on the album. And I do have to say that it was really hard to pick characters or relationships that I would fit with these songs. It seems that with her earlier music, it's a lot harder for me to relate them to Fruits Basket characters for some reason. I have been thinking that it might be because her earlier songs are a lot more based on heartbreak and relationships, which is funny because there are a lot of heartbreaking relationships in Fruits Basket, but her earlier songs talk more about feelings of betrayal in a relationship, and there isn't a lot of relationships in Fruits Basket based on betrayal. The only one I can really think of is 𝑤𝑖𝑡𝑜 and ℎ𝑟𝑒. So that being said, there are a lot of songs on this album that I relate to 𝑤𝑖𝑡𝑜 and ℎ𝑟𝑒 because of that. But I do find with her newer songs, there's a lot of songs that I can relate to Fruits Basket characters. It's weird. I have a hard time with her early songs for some reason. The first track is Fearless, and the lyric I chose for it is, "You put your eyes on me in this moment, now capture it and remember it." And I chose Katsuya and Kyoko for this one. The song talks about coming out of a first date really optimistic that the relationship is going to work, and basically, like the title says, just being fearless about it, feeling like there's nothing to be afraid of in this relationship. You feel so secure in it. I feel like we really did see Katsuya and Kyoko's relationship when it was initially happening. They felt so secure and comfortable around each other, pushing aside the fact that there is I would say an illegal age gap in it. We're gonna push aside the illegal aspect of it and just focus on the actual feelings that did take place. I feel like they really do suit this song, and it really was nice seeing them feel so at peace with each other and just being each other's comfort when both of them were in really bad situations. You had Katsuya, and he was having this turmoil with his father, and then Kyoko, who was basically abandoned by her parents and just had no one. But when they came together, they just felt this peace. And they really felt like this relationship would work because they feel so comfortable around each other and they're each other's safe place. And the second track is 15, and the lyric I chose is, "I found time can heal most anything, and you just might find who you're supposed to be." So this song just goes over the struggles of being young, and it more specifically goes over the struggles of being young and in love, and how relationships in reality most of the time don't last forever when you are young, and that was the case of what happens in this song. I didn't relate this to any characters who are in love. I related this one to Arisa just because of the fact that she did go through a struggle, and I really think it was based on the fact that she was just young and didn't know any better. As we know, Arisa was involved in a gang, and I think her desires to be in the gang initially did stem from the fact that she was young and really just didn't know any better. She thought that this gang was all she had. She stayed with them because she felt like they were her family. And I think that was a really naive reason to stay with them. But once she came to know the truth, and once she realized there is someone better for her and a more better influence for her, which is Toru, she left the gang, realized her mistake of staying with them, and things turned out better for her, which I'm so glad they did. I'm so glad Toru was there to rescue her from that life she was living that just wasn't healthy for her, and I'm glad she did learn her lesson and came out of it okay. Next, track number 3, my favorite song on this album, and that is Love Story, and the lyric I chose for it is, "This love is difficult, but it's real." This is such an easy choice. I have always related this song to Kyo and Toru, since this song talks about forbidden love, and I feel like they are a great example of forbidden love. Throughout the whole series, Kyo and Toru have so many odds against them that keep them from really being together. They have the curse and the fact that Kyo is probably going to be locked up forever, so they really can't be together. But even at the end, they just pushed that all aside. Even when they were still under the impression that Kyo was going to be locked up, they still were like, we're just gonna screw it and just be together. And I think that really is the essence of this song, wanting to be with someone even though there's so many things against you that keep you from being together, but you just fight it anyway. It's such a beautiful song. This has always been one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs, and the re-recording of it is absolutely beautiful. It just gives me feels every time I listen to it, and it always reminds me of Kyo and Toru. And number 4 is Hey Steven, and the lyric I chose for this one is, "Of all the girls tossing rocks at your window, I'll be the one waiting there even when it's cold." And this one just reminds me of the Yuki fan club, more specifically Motoko. The song talks about someone who is in love with someone who gets all the attention from girls. They are very much really well loved, and this person is trying to get the confidence to tell them how they feel. Yuki is obviously very popular and loved by both guys and girls, so he has all these people after him. And Motoko is someone who just has so many feelings for him. As we've seen, she is a true Yuki fangirl. She's really crazy about him. So I feel like every lyric of this song really applies to her because it just talks about a girl who is just so infatuated by this guy, even though he's loved by so many, that she wants to tell him her feelings, but it's kind of hard. I actually have a few more songs on here that remind me of either the Yuki fan club or Motoko specifically that I will go over. There's actually quite a few that remind me of them and kind of fit them perfectly. Track number 5 is White Horse, and the lyric I chose for this one is, "I didn't know to be in love you had to fight to have the upper hand." This is the first of many songs on this album that really remind me of Akito and Shigure. This whole song just talks about betrayal. It talks about someone's partner just betraying them in the relationship. Akito felt so much betrayal when it's like you don't even want to speak about it because it's so insane. When Shigure slept with her mother, and I too completely understand. I too would feel so betrayed if that happened to me, so that's why I feel like this song really fits them. And at first, Akito did break it off with Shigure completely and kicked him out of the main estate. But really, she did always want him back and wanted to be with him. But I think this song really goes over that initial betrayal that she felt within their relationship. Number 6 is You Belong With Me, and the lyric I chose for this one is, "I'm on the bleachers dreaming about the day when you wake up and find that what you're looking for has been here the whole time." And like I mentioned earlier, I have quite a few songs that remind me of the Yuki fan club. This is another one, and I'm not relating to them to the seriousness of this song at all because I do take this song like seriously. I do feel for the narrator who is wanting this guy so bad and wants him to get out of a horrible relationship and just be with her instead because she'd be so much better. But with the Yuki fan club, I interpret this song just differently with them. I find relating them to this song to be more comedic than anything because when I relate them to this song, it just makes them seem even more crazy because they are crazy. And for them to think that they are better for Yuki than anyone else, like, he doesn't want your crazy girls. He don't want that. If anything, Machi is so much more better for him than any of y'all, except for Motoko because she does start to grow on me after a while, and I feel like she matures better throughout the series, but the rest of the girls, I'm like, you guys are just so insane, like, leave him alone. So yeah, he don't belong with you, but I can see how they would think the things in this song, and that's what makes it really funny. And number 6 is Breathe, and the lyric I chose is, "I can't breathe without you, but I have to." And I actually do relate this one to Kyo and Toru, which it's a sad song, so you wouldn't think you would relate to them, although there are a lot of sad moments in their relationship. And this song makes me think of like the saddest moment in their relationship where 𝑘𝑒 turned her down completely after she confessed her feelings to him. This song is about letting someone go who you just can't live without, and it's really hard to get over them. I feel like during the duration of Toru's stay in the hospital, while she was just thinking over the fact that she had to let 𝑘𝑒 go because she was under the impression that he didn't want her, she was also thinking about how she had to let him go, and she tried to move on, but it was so hard because she felt like she just couldn't live without him, and that was so sad. Watching just her agony over feeling like she could not have the person she loved because she thought he didn't want her because he turned her down, when afterwards he regretted that and realized that he didn't want to be without her. That was really, really hard to watch. It was just devastating. So in the end, I am glad that they actually did get together so she didn't have to feel that way anymore. And track number 7 is Tell Me Why, and the lyric I chose is, "You ask me for my love, then you push me around." I think this whole song describes Akito's relationship with the zodiac so well, because this song is about being in a relationship with someone who loves you, but then can also be so disrespectful to you. It's just about being in a relationship with someone who is very inconsistent with their feelings on you. And I think Akito is very inconsistent with her feelings towards the zodiac. Sometimes she will be nice to them and show loving behavior, but then other times she will be so mean and nasty to them and abusive. Actually, most of the time she is that way. So I think she gives very inconsistent feelings towards the zodiac, and that's why I feel like this song really suits her very well, unfortunately. The next one is You're Not Sorry, and the lyric I chose is, "Could have loved you all my life if you hadn't left me waiting in the cold." And this song is about not being able to take back someone you've been in a relationship with because they've let you down over and over again. And this is another one that does remind me of Akito and Shigure. I think there were some things that did lead up to them breaking apart. The biggest one being with the fact that Shigure slept with Ren. Like, obviously that was the catalyst for it all. But I think another thing was Akito's behavior and her unwillingness to give her exclusive devotion to Shigure when she had this desire to be loved by all the zodiac. And I think it all came down to the fact that they just needed to be apart in order to rekindle that love again. And there was no use for giving out second chances because it just wasn't really going to work. The next one is The Way I Loved You, another song I really, really love from this album. And the lyric I chose is, "My heart's not breaking because I'm not feeling anything at all." And this one reminds me of the Akito, Shigure, and Kureno love triangle. The song is about being in a relationship with someone who makes you feel comfortable, but you're unsatisfied because you're still in love with your ex and you miss the chaotic energy that they brought to your relationship because it was so much more exciting. I think for Akito, being in a relationship, well, relationship, not really relationship. It was more of like a toxic coming together. She was using him, as we know. But I think she did feel very comfortable with him. But on the other hand, Shigure is just chaos entirely. And because she does love him, she has to love his chaotic energy, right? Like, she has to be able to put up with it. So I kind of think that might have been something she missed about him, maybe. I sometimes wonder, like, how does Akito put up with Shigure? They seem like a pairing that wouldn't really work. Akito is so, how would I put it, like mellow and reserved, and then Shigure is just insanity. Like, how are they compatible? I don't know. I think about that sometimes, but I'm like, Akito must love his chaos if she wants to be with him that bad and loves him that much. I wish we could see more of their domestic life together and how Akito puts up with him. The next one is Forever and Always, and the lyric I chose is, "I hold on to the night you looked me in the eye and told me you loved me, or you just kidding." The song is about someone whose partner promised to be with them forever, but then broke that promise and broke up with them. This one does remind me of Haru and Rin. I think they were under the impression that they would stay together even though they had an odd against them, which is Akito and the curse. Like, that could have easily broken them apart, and it did. They still believed they would be together. And Haru definitely had so many confusing feelings on why Rin broke up with him when they were so secure in their relationship that, you know, he probably did have to feel a little bit of betrayal because that happened. But I think most of all, he just felt this confusion because he was just under the impression that they'd be together forever, and he had to wonder what was the reason Rean changed her mind that much. And later on, he does find out all the reasons why she broke up with him, but at the time, he had to be like, did she fall out in love with me? Like, why did she change her mind? I felt so bad for him because Rean was doing it just out of kindness. She broke up with him because she didn't want to hurt him. She didn't want Akito to hurt him after she found out they were in a relationship. So she had to like distance herself. Man, that was a hard situation. But I'm so glad that they did end up being together and they worked it out. The next one is The Best Day. This is a cute song. I love this one. It's so sweet. It's about Taylor and her mom and their relationship. It's adorable. And the lyric I chose for this one is, I love you for giving me your eyes, for staying back and watching me shine. And because this one is about a relationship between a mother and a daughter, I had to relate it to Kyoko and Toru. They are the best mother and daughter relationship in this series for me. They have just the perfect relationship between a mother and her child. It's so sweet, and I always feel so bad for Toru that she did lose her mother because that relationship was just so special and so loving, and her mom really was the best mom, even though she had to be one under such tough circumstances because she lost her husband. She was a single mom, but she did everything she could to give Toru the best life, and she succeeded at that. So I feel like this one really suits them because it's just the perfect mother and daughter relationship that gives you all the feels. The next one is Change, and the lyric I chose is, you can walk away and say we don't need this, but there's something in your eyes says we can beat this. And this song is about believing that you and your loved ones will come out of a battle as winners. This song entirely really fits Fruits Basket really well because the overarching plot is breaking the curse, and that's Toru's main goal. And for that reason, I feel like this song really fits Toru. She's someone who is trying all that she can to help the Soma break free from Akito, and she's trying to figure out how to break their curse. And she is not giving up on that goal. She's not going to stop until they come out of the other side as champions with having this curse broken. And she ultimately succeeds in that because the curse does break and all the Somas came out of the other side okay. Toru and them went through this huge battle of fighting against Akito, who wanted the bond and the curse to stay, but they ultimately won, and actually Akito did win too, because once the curse broke, she was ultimately free as well and was able to be her own person and find out who she truly is. Aside from the aspect of her being a god, she could just be herself, and she can be with the person that she really does love, which is Shigure. So in this case, everyone wins. Everyone came out of this battle absolutely fine and okay and happier than they ever were before. Next is Jump Then Fall, and the lyric I chose is, the time is gonna come when you're so mad you could cry, but I'll hold you through the night until you smile. This is another one that reminds me of Kyo and Toru. It is about letting your partner know that it's safe to be in a relationship with you because you won't let them down. And I think that's some reassurance that Kyo really needed before even starting his relationship with Toru, because he had so many things he was afraid of. Kyo has always had so many insecurities, and I'm pretty sure those insecurities do transfer into a relationship, and he just wants to be the best person for her. But I feel like he always will be. He's just such a sweetheart and just so good for her. And I think Toru really feels that too. And she can really be his safe place. I'm pretty sure she does a really good job of making him feel safe with her and making him feel secure in the relationship. The next one is Untouchable, and the lyric I chose for this is, you're untouchable, burning brighter than the sun. Now that you're close, I feel like coming undone. And this song is basically about being in love with someone who is out of your reach. And it's another one that I'm going to go back to Kyo and Toru for this one. Yes, 2 in a row. But I feel like this one really fits well with them because, like I mentioned when I was talking about them with Love Story, there's so much against them that prevents them from really being with each other. And I feel like especially for Kyo, Toru was always out of reach because he knew he couldn't be with her, because he wouldn't have his freedom forever in order to be with her. So I think he really did always feel like she was out of reach in the romantic sense. He was still able to be with her just, as friends, but anything beyond that was something he really felt like he couldn't do with her. So for that reason, she was always out of his reach. That is until they actually did end up being together, which I'm glad finally did happen. So she wasn't untouchable forever. Next is Come In With The Rain, and the lyric I chose is I'll leave my window open because I'm too tired at night to call your name. And this is another one that I feel like suits Akito and Shigure. This song is about chasing after someone for a little while but then just getting tired of no results, so you end up just waiting for the person to come to you. I think that's ultimately the scenario that happened in regards to Shigure with Akito. I think he really did give up on trying to get her to, be with him or go after her. What he ended up doing was just waiting for her to come to him. And that's very interesting because I feel like in most cases when you are in love with someone, you just want to go after them. And making the decision to just wait for them to come to you is very hard and must take a lot of patience. And I think Shigure had a lot of patience when it came to waiting for Akito. He had to wait for her to snap out of it, let go of the bonds with the Zodiac, so that she can see that Shigure was the one who truly did want her and was the best person for her to be with. And all that waiting did pay off because Akito realized that all she needed was Shigure, and they ended up together. So it was a very smart choice on Shigure's part to just wait for her. Next is Superstar, and the lyric I chose is I'm no one special, just another wide-eyed girl who's desperately in love with you. Another one that really reminds me of the Yuki fan club. This song talks about being in love with someone who is famous and is loved by so many other people that you just don't really stand out. And like I mentioned before, Yuki is so well loved and so popular that it has to be hard for all the girls in the school to stand out to him. And that is definitely the case with the Yuki fan club because they are his biggest admirers. So it must be hard for them to really stand out against all the other girls in the school that love him. And next is The Other Side of the Door, and the lyric is I said leave, but all I really want is you to stand outside my window throwing pebbles screaming I'm in love with you. And yet again, we're going back to Shigure and Akito. I'm telling you, there's a lot of songs on this album that remind me of them, like a lot. Yet another one we've come across. This song is about someone breaking off a relationship with someone else, but actually wanting that person to come after them. I think this one speaks for Akito's relationships with Shigure really well. She did break up the relationship, but Shigure was still on her mind, and she could never let go of him. And she was always wanting him to make the move and come back to her, even though she's the one who kicked him out of the estate and all that. So she's very inconsistent with her feelings with him for sure. Next is Today Was a Fairy Tale, and the lyric is time slows down whenever you're around. And this one talks about pretty much a perfect first date. And this one really reminds me of Kureno and Arisa, finally a relationship, a couple that I haven't talked about yet in this video. But this one does really remind me of them. It reminds me of that impromptu first date that they had when Kureno took her out to lunch after they ran into each other after Arisa got off from work. It just reminds me of that whole scenario. This song is a very, very romantic song talking about the initial feelings that you have with someone, and I think Arisa and Kureno's initial feelings for each other were so strong. It was pretty much love at first sight. And that episode and that whole chapter was definitely so, so romantic. And because this is such a romantic song, it just really reminded me of them. Now we're going into the songs that were from the vault. So on the re-release of Fearless, Taylor also released some songs that she wrote for the original Fearless, but they didn't make the cut and ended up not being on the album. So she released them in the re-release. So those are these songs. So these are technically all new songs, and they're all so good. So the first one is You All Over Me, and the lyric I chose is no amount of freedom gets you clean, I still got you all over me. And this one reminds me of Kureno and Akito, and I would also say that this one also reminds me of the feelings that all of the Zodiac members have towards Akito, most likely after the curse does break. But I mainly thought of this one through Kurano's point of view. I have a feeling that it was probably hard for him to get over his relationship with Akito and the trauma that he experienced from that relationship, even after they split apart and Kurano had moved on with Arisa. It still probably was hard for him to just, wash himself clean of that relationship and how horrible it was. That's kind of how I imagine, because you just don't get over things like that so quickly, even though you've moved on with someone else. I feel like because Kurano was with her for so long and he had been under so much emotional abuse from her for so long, it had to be hard for him to just rinse himself of all of that trauma. So that's just kind of my headcanon when it comes to that. But I hope after a while he was able to just move on and find peace with Arisa and was able to just let go of that relationship completely. The next one, oh my god, I love this song so much. I can't believe it's just been unreleased for 13 years. Like, what the heck? This song is so good. And that is Mr. Perfectly Fine. And the lyric I chose is, I never got past what you put me through, but it's wonderful to see that it never fazed you. I think this one really suits Akito and Shigure in the worst way. This song talks about being brokenhearted after you've been broken up with and the other person just coming out of it just fine with like no cares in the world that they broke your heart and they're just going on with their lives like everything is okay while you're suffering from the heartbreak. I think that's how Akito felt when Shigure betrayed her, and she was under the impression that Shigure was just fine, just had no cares in the world about the fact that he slept with her mother and just had this completely carefree attitude after that. And I think that hurt her all the more that Shigure seemingly did that with just no remorse whatsoever. I really did feel for her in that situation, like I was saying earlier, because it's just so awful. And though Shigure does have this really big carefree attitude and it seems like he really is cold-hearted and does things without any remorse, he was suffering in his own way from not being with Akito, since she is someone that he really does love. It was hard and frustrating for him to be without her. So he wasn't all completely carefree, but I can see from Akito's point of view how she would think he is. The next one is We Were Happy, which is actually a song that was leaked a while back. So to hear it on the album, like as official, is really weird for me because I heard this song years ago when it was leaked. So very interesting. It's an interesting one. And the lyric I chose for this one is Goodbye's so much harder because we were happy. And I also chose Haru and Rin for this one. This one talks about falling out of love in a relationship. And I don't feel like Rin necessarily fell out of love with Haru, but I think she was just reflecting on all those times that they were happy and just felt sad that it ended, or it supposedly ended because they did end up getting back together. And ironically, I think they really lost their happiness when they did break up, and they were more happy when they were together. So I was glad that they were able to find that happiness with each other again. The next one is That's When, and the lyric I chose is When you were gone, did you ever think of me? And this is another two characters that I haven't talked about yet, and that's Kisa and Hiro. And this song is about breaking off a relationship after needing space, and then the song goes over the moment when you decide to get back together again when you are ready. Hiro was the one in his relationship with Kisa to really distance himself from her, and he gave her space because he felt like it was dangerous being with her all the time because of the fact that he told Akito that he does love her, and so he was trying to stay away from her to protect her, which is the same situation of why Rin broke up with Haru, so that he wouldn't be hurt by Akito by them being together. Because as we know, Akito does not like when these zodiacs are in love with someone else other than her, so that's the reason Hiro ultimately felt like he had to give Kisa some space so that she wouldn't get hurt, which is really sad because Kisa was at a time where she needed a hero the most. She was getting bullied, so she needed someone to be there to support her, which Hiro could have been, but he felt like it was more safer to just stay away from her so that she wouldn't get hurt by Akito. And I am glad that they eventually did come together again, and were able to be friends again, and Hiro was able to be there to support her while she was going through a tough time, but for a while he just couldn't, and he had to watch her suffer, so that was really hard to watch, but fortunately it didn't last long. The next one is Don't You, and I absolutely love this song. I think this is my favorite from the Vault songs. It's so beautiful but so sad at the same time, and the lyric I chose from it is, "You don't know how much I feel I love you still." And I actually chose Hatori and Kana for this one. And this song talks about not wanting your ex to really try to become friends with you. You think it's just best if you completely go your separate ways. And I think this is something that Hatori really did feel with Kana. I think he felt like he really just had to stay away from her completely and just have no relationship with her whatsoever. Mainly just so that he wouldn't risk her regaining her memories of their relationship that they had. But I think he also probably had to do it in order to keep himself sane. It probably was really hard to be around her after they had to break up and he had to erase her memories. And I think, like this lyric said, he probably was still in love with her for a while. I'm sure he didn't get over that relationship right away, but thankfully he was able to move on with someone else, which is great. So he was able to find his own happiness again. And finally, the last song is Bye Bye Baby, and the lyric I chose is, "I want you bad, but it's come down to nothing." And once again, this is another one that reminds me of Haru and Rin. And this song is really about your choice to leave the relationship for whatever reason. And Rin is the one, as we know, who broke up her relationship with Haru. She was the one who just left, and for reasons that Haru didn't really even know. He was, like I said, really confused on why that happened. But she was the one who just broke it up. But fortunately, as we know, that didn't last forever and they were able to be together again. Alrighty, that is it. That was a lot. I think that was about 25 or 6 songs. So I'm anticipating this to be a long video and I feel very winded after talking that much because I never talk that much, so excuse me, but I am tired. I hope you did enjoy this video. Let me know if you have listened to the songs on Fearless, which songs you would relate to characters from Fruits Basket or relationships from Fruits Basket. I would really love to know. I think Love Story really is the ultimate Kyo and Toru song, and I've heard from the opinions of a lot of fans as well that that song always reminds them of Kyo and Toru, so I know I'm not alone on that. If you guys did like the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more anime related videos and anime reactions. And also be sure to follow me on Instagram if you'd like to. That link will be in the description box, and I'll be back really soon. Bye!